Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another DC review, and in this DC review I'm covering the bees. In this case, Batman and Blue Beetle. So I'll now get things organised for the first one that I'll be covering, and we'll get started into the reviews. So as the story begins, as we begin the start, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside of the story? In some essence it does, but what is my overall rating for the cover? I'm afraid to say that I give this cover a 6.5 out of 10, as I really don't like it that much. And that's the truth. I don't like its appearance. I think it could have been done a little bit better. And it sort of looks like it's trying to make Batman look like the bad guy, when in fact we know that in Batman's own universe, he is actually the good guy. Now it's time to move into the area of the internal art, as we look around the beginning, middle, and of course the end. So as the story begins, we have Batman beginning to take down some members of Catwoman's brigade of sorts, or her list of femme fatale villains, as they are pretty much some of the first ones to move into a counter-strike against him. As we start to jump towards the middle of the story, we have the members of the Bat family taking on Bruce Wayne, all except Damian Wayne's, which I'm really happy about. And as we start to move towards the end, we catch up with Damian Wayne and Bruce Wayne together, talking about the events that occurred. And of course we get a bit of a visitor to one of the residences of the Wayne the Wayne residences, indicating that one of their places has been sold to Vandal Savage. Now, as this story has sort of continued, I do give the art a 7.5 out of 10, and I do enjoy what Jorge Jimenez has done with the art. Now it's time to move in area of the relation to the story. So first things first, did this story give us any comic references? No, it didn't. It needs comic references, even if it's to the one shot that sort of begins this story. It would not hurt to include it. The next is the time, is like when some of the events take place time-wise. We didn't even get that. We have, of course, the next area being locations, to which we had Gotham and Blackgate Prison was also brought up in the story. The next thing is the area of the cast of characters. Now, I think if one thing this story could have done is actually cut down on some of the cast of the characters. Yeah, we get the main Bat family members, but I think there was a little bit too many characters maybe put into this story at once. Yes, it was nice to sort of to see the villains of the Round Table of sorts, but you could have shown half of that just to give the idea that the villains that are around that particular table, there are more there. So, moving into the area of the cast of characters, we had Batman, Scorpiona, Vox. We had Tim Drake, Red Robin. No, I'm not calling him Robin, because Damian Wayne is Robin. We had Nightwing. We had Spoiler, Oracle, Red Hood. We also had Professor Pig make an appearance, Scarecrow, the Mad Hatter, Two-Face, Victor Zsasz. We had Black Mask. We also had Signal, Damian Wayne Robin, of course. someone by the name of Mr. White, who was letting Bruce Wayne know about the purchase of some property of his. We had Zero, and last but not least, we had Vandal Savage. For the overall story rating in this, I give a 6.5 out of 10. Yeah. So, it almost feels as if some of these members of the Bat family, even though, yes, there are some that disagree with Batman's tactics, and you've even got those accusing Batman of making violent henchmen. Well, if you were to look around the history of Batman, there have been violent henchmen since before Batman even existed. Even in Batman's own world, there would have been violent henchmen before even Batman existed. So that point is null and void. Even though it's a point brought up in the comic, that point is null and void. And here are some members of the Bat family accusing him of it. They seem a bit pretty bloody deluded. And it's the only way to point it out. They feel fucking deluded, as if what's the name of that character that doesn't get enough attention? Psycho Pirate. It almost feels as if Selina has used Psycho Pirate to change some of the members of the Bat family's thoughts about her and about the way she's approaching things. Now, that is also one character that we don't see in this particular story, but I wouldn't be surprised if they also get brought into the story maybe later on. But I will still stick to the rating of a 6.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move on to Blue Beetle, issue 1. So now it's time to jump into Blue Beetle issue 1. And first of all, does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that is happening inside of the story? In a little essence, yes, but overall I give it a 6.5 out of 10. So now it's time to move into the internal art as well as what's happening story-wise, as we look around the beginning, middle, and of course the end. So I'm going to start off with this first page that we see at the very beginning of the story. And I must admit, I really do like this in the story. And I like how there's sort of like a bit of a transition between the older art into the newer. And through it, we get to see like who has been the previous Blue Beetles to who the present Blue Beetle is. And we move into the beginning of the story. We end up meeting the characters of the Madmen and also what they're doing on the scene. We start to catch up with some of the other characters in the story, and we have Jaime Reyes speaking to a member of the Reach who we know as Uli, which is really interesting. And last but not least, we move into something that is happening with the character of Ted Kord, which we see him gain a bit of an injury in an encounter with a villain. So for the internal art, I give it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to move into the area of the story. So first things first, do we have something addressing the area of time? We did, which addressed the area of time as the next day, to which we got to see Jaime Reyes and his friends spend some time at the beach. And of course the location being the beach, which was one of the things that we were able to make out. We didn't get to see Ted Kord Industries or anything like that, though it would not have hurt to have seen more locations actually pointed out in the story, to which I would have given the rating a little bit higher, but because that didn't happen, it actually dropped the rating quite low. Moving into last but not least, the cast of characters, we had Dan Garrett, the first Blue Beetle, Ted Cord, the second Blue Beetle, and the present day Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle. We had him, of course, speaking to Kajik, who is the Scarab. We also had the Madmen. We had green and yellow beetles, Uli. We also encountered someone by the name of Zhao Mora and Roma. So, and they seem to be people connected to some of the beetles or the scarabs, and also the Reach. But for the overall story rating in this, I gave a 6.5 out of 10. It's quite surprising to see both of these issues. Of course, getting a low rating on the cover as well as on the story. So it certainly shows that with some of this Dawn of DC stuff, it's going to take a little while to get off the ground. Well, until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.